There you go, that is tight-ish. I swapped over, used a simple punch to knock it out. It was a little bit tighter than the previous one. I think that's just because there's been a little more gunk in there, and this is where we ended up with now. One main jet knocked out. This is now just a piece of brass for, in my particular case, for me spare scrap metals, because I can use, and that's what's holding it stiff. So all that gunk there, eventually went to the top, put it in the vise, sat it in there, used a punch that goes inside. We don't want to cause any damage to that body there, because if we do, this thing could work loose and then it's knackered. Used that to knock it down, and knocked it down straight in on the clean side. Probably the best option to try that in the first place. Either way, you know, you've got it does just tap out, and it's a simple press in on there. Do it. Hang on to the old one as well, and I'll show you why in a while. I'd say hang on to these, because we have a little job for them to do later on. I'll see. Fundamentally now what we've got is a car which is basically coming apart, and you know, it's not far off done. So we're going to take this section out here, because we've got some gaskets and seals etc for playing there. So let's get the screwy on them. Once you take the screws out, slide it out. When you put these back in, you will see there's a couple of little indentations in this this valve, and it actually lines it all up for you. So again, out with that shaft. Watch your spring. Spring fits around the body on there. It's actually quite explanatory, that is, when you're actually taking it apart. Make sure you've got your springs here. Out it comes. So you don't lose it. Well, that fundamentally is down to the bare body of the this CD150 ES carburetor, as fitted to the later models, the emission control models. I want to get rid of me crappy covers. So fundamentally, all we've got to do now is get these little seals out here, and will they come out easy? Probably not. How I turn them out is just give them a little abuse, like so. They don't want to come out because they've been in there a long time, and they've no doubt made friends, so they want to stay where they are. But there's no real finesse way of getting that out, other than destroying the bits to it. There you go. All it is a little bit of a brass body, little cap type thing, and a seal. And as you can see with this seal here, it's no longer rubberized, is it? That's what I say. It's no longer rubberized. That's the seal. And it just basically, see, it's all in numerous bits, which is fundamentally means we no longer have a seal in that shaft. Now that's something you've got to be a little bit brave with. You've got to get your screwdriver in there and break it out. It's like a little steel body around there what holds it, but you can't sort of faff about with it either, because if you do, you'll be sat in there an hour just trying to get it out. It's got to come out. You can't get it out without breaking it. I'm pretty sure of that. I've tried doing it always. Oh, that one come out even easier, look. The other one was as tight as hell. I did notice on the other one actually, one side came out a lot easier. Why that should be, I've no idea. But if we check that rubber seal as well, see, it just stays flat. But also, as I just pressed it in there, it's just split on that back side. You know, totally useless at the job it's supposed to be doing, which is sealing the shaft. And that, guys and gals, is shouldn't say that really, guys and gals in the UK, should you? But everybody who's watching, is fundamentally the body of the carburetor down to its raw bit. Oh, right. Hello, back again. Had a bit of a clean up. Carb and the blast cabinet there. Poked everything out. took me about 15 minutes to blast it, and the best part of an hour blowing it all out, cleaning it all out. You know, because blast media is something that you really do not need in one of these. After all, you know, it's considered a precision instrument, and I agree with that. And you know, anything like grit or anything like that is going to seriously affect its, or I say, has the potential to seriously affect its operation. So, you know, let's respect the manufacturer and the design, and make sure when we're putting it back it is spotlessly clean. And like I say, it's taken me ages to do so, with the, you know, majority blowing it out with air and using my little picker to just check I haven't got anything there. You always be careful using steel pickers on aluminium bodies, but you know what, I'm using on the outside where I can see bits of grit and what have you. Well, I want to get rid of them, so I'm prepared to put the time in. So, you know, that's fundamentally, you know, a few bits here and there, you know, that we've cleaned up. And I think, you know, the carburetors, once they're cleaned up like this, I think they look a lot better. They look like a new carburetor, don't they? Which is, you know, it's not a new one, but let's face it, we're trying to overhaul it. Let's make it look as good as we can. So now at the state, we're going to press this this jet assembly into the back into the body, and do the height setting. Is it height setting? It is really a height setting, because it's coming up the shaft really, but you're measuring how far below it is from the body, which is, like as we said earlier on, is 100 thou or 2.5 mil. So, you know, we've got to get it about right. Now we've got to be careful how we press it in again, because it's only a piece of brass. I don't have my own press, so I use the vice on here, lined with the soft jaws. So, you know, let's plug in. We're getting it back together. There's a few things, you know, I've kind of come up with about making it easier to put it back together, so, you know, we can show them en route. So let's get them. I'm going to make it difficult for myself having to do it this way around, but we'll see where we are. I've got two sets, one set as in two jaws. I've put the jet in there, and I've kind of worked it in so it, you know, it does go in a little way. It's not centralised properly, but it's actually started. And that's what you want to do. Just try and start the thing in there before you start putting a press in it. And just check to see if it's something like a lined up, which it should be if you're something like there. Get it between the vice jaw there. If you've got a small press, it's better to use a small press. But if you haven't, you know, it's like, what choice have you got? As you can see, I'm just pressing this in. And if it is slightly out of line, when you press it a little way, release it. Press it a little way, release it a bit more, and eventually it will centralise itself as it's going through. Now I've just gone all the way through with that. Now I think I've knocked that in a little bit too high, but I'll show you the reason I've done that. Let's put a few bits to one corner for a second so we can see what we're doing. Get that out of the way. Now in there, that is, I think, too high. Now, I haven't done that for a reason, because I'm going to show you what I do to get it to what I use to get it back when I've gone a bit too far. Now this here is the old jet out of one of the old ones, and what I do is place it on the top of there, and because it's smaller, you know, it likes to go down into the ball without binding up. Well, that's what we use to knock it down. But first of all, what we're going to do is do a measurement. Turn on the gear. It's set in thou at the moment. And what we're doing is holding it. I'll tell you what we can do. We can show it on one of the older jets and show it clearer. If you can see. Let me kind of get this right here. I'm hoping that will. I don't know. My measuring vernier here, it's a good quality, it's a Mitutoyo. Now I'm trying to show you exactly where I want that to be. Now can you see you've got this edge around the outside, like a little part of the drilling, and then a recess in the centre. Not in the hole, but in the centre. Well, the 100 thou is taken from there, not from the outside ring. It's taken from the height of the... It's awfully hard work to try and get this in focus. And you see, I'm sure that, yeah, that can kind of see it there. You see how I've got that ring around the outside? Well, you want the inside of that ring on top of the main part, if you like, and we're basically pushing that measurement on here. So I'm hoping that's kind of clear. It's always easier to see something, so what we're going to do is press it down onto the centre of that one and push the gauge down onto the body to get a reading. At the moment that's 27 thou, so clearly we are 73 thou too high. I pushed it too far, which I actually have done to show what I kind of using this for. I've done that slightly on purpose. And what we're going to do, we get that back in there, and all I've done here is get a little washer, a little 6mm washer, put that over there, and I'll do that. It just makes it easier to hang on to. It's now back on top of there, and we're simply going to tap it down a little bit. We'll go again to see what we've got. Bring it down. We're up now to 64 thou and 5/10. So we're going a little bit further. We're in about another 40 thou, it's 36 thou, isn't it? Back in there again. Be gentle how you put it down, just to make sure you actually sat on top of there. Back on that for another setting. What are we up to now? Oh, we haven't moved it there. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. Exactly 100. This is exactly the depth. Like I say, if it was 99 or 101, I wouldn't get overly worried about that. Because remember, it is adjusted. Checked it again. See, we've crept up now to 101. I think I was right on the first one. I think because I twiddled it a bit there, but you can see where we're looking at, can't you? Down there, looking down in the depth of there. That's the height. That's how I've got it set. Using the edge of the vernier there, just to lean on the body. I'm hoping that's showing you there, and there you go. So it's as simple as that. You know, it's. There you go. That was a postman. 2:15 in the afternoon. Well, let's not go there, eh? So, right now, butterfly shaft. New one, obviously. Going in here. One thing you've got to make sure of, make sure it is the right way around. But first of all, what we're going to do is put these seals in. Seals that go in there. Remember, we abuse them to get them out. If you don't trap it or nick it. And what they've got to do is go back in there. Now that's what you don't want to do when you knock it around like that. It wants to go from side to side. So what I came up with was this idea, which is the original thing we use, what we use this old jet for. That there's not a bad fit on that. Putting that seal over the top of there. Now when we push that down on there, it actually holds it more in the correct place, if you like, holding the seal down. And with any luck, in she goes. You see, simple as that. All you're using is the old brass tools that you've used. You're not, if you knock that in too tight with something with a washer that isn't without the washer, what you'll do is just dent and deform all the inner ring of the seal, and obviously the seal will no longer work correctly. So what I've done by using the washer, which fits beautiful in there, a little 6mm, this what this one does anyway, there are various sizes of them, I've just used that, so when she blows, again, there you go, simple as that, nothing difficult about that. Turn it over, get the next one, again, butterfingers, that in there, that little gadget over the top, Obviously you've got to hold it square. You know, you don't want to be all over the place with it. So it's on the enter and right, I've got that back in. Put a little nick in it myself, and had to just straighten it a little bit, you know, to make sure it's gone in. You know, I can't stress just how fragile these things are. If you just get them slightly on the angled, and then try and push it in, it won't go. It'll just collapse it. And that's just started. I just kind of, when I tapped it in, then I just felt that isn't going right. Anyway, turned it over and it wasn't right. So I just flicked it out again. Had to just straighten it a tad, not much, and put it back in. And it's all okay now. That's the shaft in, all necessary there. I mean, as I do is I put all my silicone grease in there, so it's nice and smooth. It's lovely and smooth in there now, which is, you know, what you want to achieve, like. So on to the next bit and get this butterfly ladled in it, if you know what I mean. Now you can see on these butterflies here, they've got a little, obviously got your two holes for locating it, and you've got a couple of indentations there which basically line it up. And in she goes, and you know you're in the right spot because it won't go anywhere else. Kind of centralises it, you know. Well, I've done that then, me. I push it down into there, turn it around so it's all kind of held itself square, and that's actually where it wants to be ultimately. And then we get our little screws from the repair kit, little shiny ones, and the end of them there. And we get them stuck in. Well, because that there is, these screws relying on these staying tight, that's okay. If they did ever come loose, they go straight into the engine. And they are specials where they're trying to stop themselves from coming out. There used to be, an old ones used to have a little split on the end of it, and used to just screw it in and then just separate the two sides of it, like so. It wasn't possible for it to come unscrewed again. But these are not like that. So I'm back to a little bit of Loctite. Whether it needs it or not, it's having it, because I think we don't want these things to come loose. And a little bit of the Loctite thread lock is going on there, and if some people don't like that, well, that's okay, but I'm putting it on because it's going to make me feel a whole lot more, a whole lot better, and you know, I'm avoiding the worst case scenario of these little screws coming loose. And they can easily do that. You know, you're screwing into brass. They're shiny enough, they look a bit like stainless steel, but you know, whether they are or not doesn't really matter. But it's just something you want to get in there located, pinched up and locked in, confident enough that the damn things aren't going to come out on you. Screw them in nicely, start them in both sides, and just pinch them down. They're all there. Now once this is all squared up, they've got to be like it. It's all got to be in the right place. I just give it a quick turn, everything looking alright, and then I'm going to pinch them down finally. And that's just taking them nice and tight. But don't go mad, because just remember you're screwing into brass, and it would be very easy to pull them out. So there you go. Excuse me. Main jet in, height set, butterfly in. You know, we're starting to look like a carburetor internal should be like, aren't we? Like, you know. Oh dear, excuse me. So what shall we do next? I'm going to be tempted to turn it over. That's what I'm going to do. Turn it over, and we're going to do the float chamber setup, which is on the reverse side. I'll just flick that bar out of there. Like I say, remember it just came on two little spring clips. Be gentle with it. In fact, be gentle full stop with these things. You know, it's only Classed as a precision instrument. Come out. These things are crap. I don't know why I keep them in my bench. So, this has all got to go back in. I've checked this to make sure it's not burst. It floats very nicely, it doesn't sink, doesn't sag. Because if these things spring a leak, then and they start to fill with a bit of fuel, then it'll be heavier and it won't float, and the float heights will be changed as accordingly, and no matter how you set them there, it will not be correct. So you've got to remember that these things have got to be perfect. Yes, perfect's not a bad word for that, because perfect is really what you're looking for. Well, first of all, I'm going to, we can see where I put it. Knocking about here somewhere. And I'm looking, it's there, look. It's a little bit off camera there, so I'm just looking in the wrong place. There we go. Where's my little washer? Should be around there somewhere. Is it inside? Jesse's go. Come on, get on with it, it's there, it's hiding. And there we go. Now that little fuel valve there is what stops it. Fuel coming in, fuel coming out, controls it. That's going to screw into there. And this comes in the kit as well. Just a nip up, if I remember. Funny how the old ones fit nicely and the new ones don't. Right, just pinch that down. There's probably an ideal torque setting for that, but as we don't know what it is, you just pinch it down. And unless somebody wants to go looking for it, but I think pinching that down there is more than adequate. So, as we can see now, I've got this carburetor. We set it there, remember, we put T on it for top. We can put this little lady back in. Don't need to be any more complicated than those. Locate it in its end and just press it back in. There you go. And that's how that works. This is right fuel height, as in volume inside this chamber, volume of fuel that is, then that's obviously floats up to the top and cuts it off until it's still, till the fuel's been used, and then it floats back down again, and then it comes back up again, and constantly that's what it's doing. That's what it's there for all its life. There is obviously a setting for that, float height setting. I'm sure you've heard about that little piece. That won't go around that way, will it? It'll just make it a bit easier. And the float height setting on these things is between here and here, and we're looking on there for 16 to 17, something like that, millimeters from the body of there to the top of there. So you're looking to measure from there to the top of that. Now this is a precise measurement. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do, especially when you're trying to do it on video. That's just a straight edge, that is. Set me them up. Put them back onto metric. That's showing there just under 15. So what do we do about it? Obviously we want this to be higher. So obviously we want to, find a way of doing it. And how you do it there's that little tag there, which sits on directly onto the needle valve. And it sounds crude. You've got to bend it down a little bit. We just do only a tad, don't go mad. Right, that's way too high now, you can see that. It's a bit of faffy, this job is. I'm using an hacksaw blade because they're very light. Now that is taking that up. Is now 19. So what we're doing now is we're bring that back up there, bending him back just a little bit, See what we got that? Like I say, you can perform around like this for quite a while. But it is, you know, it is one of the settings that has to be right on the carburetor. Push that in there, back onto the base of the carb. Now the easy way of doing this is to get a piece of, get a block, exactly 16.5 mil high. It's 18 still. And just obviously rest it onto this part of the body there, and then you know you've got like a nice gap there, you know, which is easy to measure. You can also do it this way, which is a bit of a faff, but you know it works. 16.23, that'll do for me because that's about the same as where the other one was. Well, anyway, that sort of shows the setting for doing flow tights. That's fundamentally it. It's nothing more bloody complicated than that. But it is something that, you know, you want to be mindful that you get correct. You know, obviously put the float needle in there, the float needle body, which, like I say, comes with this overall kit, and it over there, and we set the height on that. And it's now time to get a gasket on that. Notice there's plenty of meat on these gaskets, more than what you need. And then we put these screws in. The original screws on this one. This one cleaning up. Is it that one? That's the one. There's the ones we need. All these, I'm going to clean all these up, so we'll pause the vid a bit just while I clean them up on the wire wheel. And we'll get this float chamber dropped back on. Let me pause a sec.